by speaking to football expert Jonathan Fadugba. Jonathan, do you think Harry Maguire is a better centre-half right now than all of Tomori, Smalling, Mings, Gomez and Guhi?
I think Gareth Southgate definitely thinks so. Hi, good evening. And at the end of the day, he's the one who makes the choice. Obviously, he knows Harry Maguire from previous tournaments. He's got a lot of faith in him. I think on form, you would argue that he's not in as good a form as certain other players. Obviously, Tomori, for example, being one who just won the Serie A with AC Milan, has been in good form. But I think ultimately, Southgate would like to have a mixture of kind of youth and experience. And someone like Harry Maguire, despite the huge amounts of criticism he takes this season and last season, of course, at Manchester United, you kind of know what you're going to get with him to a certain extent from Southgate's point of view. And I think that's influenced his decision. And I think he's gone for him.
Yeah, and Southgate actually did stress that he thinks form's particularly important because of the lack of lead-up time to this tournament, knowing as we do how it's been placed in the middle of the European season. Perhaps the main surprise is the inclusion of James Maddison. Let's show our viewers what Southgate had to say about that.
He's playing really well. Look, he's a good player. We've always said he's a good player. He's earned the right. We think he can give us something slightly different to the other attacking players that we've got. So I think at various stages there have been conversations, debates about James. There's been moments where, ahead of the Euros, I don't think he was in contention. He had a bit of a problem with his hip, and then I think September was probably a fair debate. But I think he's playing as well as any of the attacking players in this country.
And in these days when we're all a bit club obsessed, it's worth having a look at a very old tweet from James Maddison from almost a decade ago when he posted a message about his teacher saying only 1 in 100 go on to make it as a footballer. And he said, I am that one. And here he is 1 in a million, I should say. 9 years later, he's going to a World Cup with England. So it shows how important it is, Jonathan. And do you think it's quite promising for England's chances that Southgate's picked him? Because although his record in major tournaments with England is impressive, Southgate, he has been accused of being too conservative with his tactics sometimes. And Maddison's certainly a maverick talent.
Yeah, I think you described it perfectly there. Maverick talent. He's 6 goals, 4 assists this season. James Maddison, you can sense he's desperate to get into the team. If you watch some of his interviews, he speaks really well in interviews, and he's sort of the passion he has to play for his country kind of has shone through in his interviews, and you can see he really wants it from that point of view. So I'm sure he's going to be absolutely delighted this evening. I think he tweeted a picture of him when he was a kid as well, saying how happy he is. And if you compare his sort of goal record to, for example, Jack Grealish, I think Grealish has 1 goal this season in the Premier League, I believe. So he's outperforming players like Grealish in terms of those attacking forward roles, maybe for England. There's competition there from, of course, others like Phil Foden, Sterling, Saka. But I think Maddison is a form pick, and you do need a mixture of kind of players that like Maguire, and then players that you maybe have a bit of a wild card, maybe like James Maddison. And I think it's a fully deserved call-up, and I'm happy to see him in the squad, to be honest.
We just showed our viewers the full 26-man squad, and sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming when we see list after list of 26 names. But who else do you think you were pleased to see included? Who do you think's a glaring omission? Do you think broadly Southgate's got it right overall?
Yeah, I think the main debates were kind of Reece James. Maybe should he maybe have been selected, even though he's probably going to miss the group stage? Maybe bring him in if England were to qualify. I saw Southgate describe that as maybe an arrogant suggestion, because clearly England can't take it for granted that they'll qualify. There's 3 games to get through. So I think on balance, he's probably made the decision he needed to there. You've still got Trent Alexander-Arnold and obviously Kyle Walker, who would go into my team. Trippier has been in a fantastic form as well at right back. I think the one that excites me, or has to excite me, Jude Bellingham, is the one that I think will have a breakout tournament. I think maybe by the end of this tournament, he's going to be, if not already, he'll be considered one of the world's best midfielders. It'd be interesting to see if he can squeeze his way into the team, of course, but in terms of ability, he's going right to the top. Phillips is back, obviously, from an injury and may well play, but I think I'd like to see Bellingham maybe get more and more game time. But more or less, I think the squad is fairly balanced. If you look at injuries, things like that, I think all in all, it's a pretty good squad. And it's not sort of huge omissions. Maybe Ivan Toney is the only one that maybe I feel could have maybe feel quite unlucky, to be honest, in not getting in there. And maybe Conor Gallagher's maybe slightly fortunate as well in that sense. He'll be happy to be on the plane, where others like Ward-Prowse, for example, maybe Loftus-Cheek as well might be a bit unhappy.
And it can change so quickly, can't it? If you think about how Jadon Sancho was flying at Borussia Dortmund, but not so much at United, and has been left out, whereas Bellingham is thriving at Dortmund and has gone from an exciting young talent to, as you say, crucial to England's chances in that midfield especially. And we've kind of asked you to put yourself on the spot, Jonathan, with your guess about what 11 players could take to the field to start that opening game against Iran.
Yeah, so I think I've gone for what I would play. I'm not sure Southgate will play. I think Southgate will stick with a sort of 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, depending on how you want to call it, or five.
So who's your 11?
Five at the back anyway. I've gone for a 4-3-3. I think that I'd fit Bellingham in there somehow with Rice, and obviously, and up front Kane. Obviously, Sterling is the one I think will start. But if you're looking at the form and the games that England have to start with, obviously Iran, USA, I think that Saka and Foden are in really good form and playing really well. So Raheem Sterling's not been in great form, but I think he will get called up. I think he will play. But obviously that's the team I've gone for in a 4-3-3 formation. So a little bit more attacking than maybe Southgate likes to be. But that's probably the 11 that I would have chosen maybe for the first couple of games.
So you'd go for Maddison, but you think Southgate's probably going to stick with Sterling?
Yeah, I don't think Maddison will start. I think he'll be used as maybe a wild card. I think Sterling will play. That's just the team that I'd play with the form of Maddison. Sterling hasn't been in fantastic form lately with Chelsea. He's been in and out. Obviously, he's played in a lot of different positions as well. But he's kind of one of Gareth Southgate's stalwarts. He'll definitely play, in my opinion. But that's the team I would maybe start the tournament with if I was looking to be more attacking. I think he'll go with 3 centre backs. Kyle Walker maybe as one of the right-sided centre-back in that sort of back 5. But if you wanted to take out one of the defenders and maybe be a bit more offensive-minded, Maddison's in there, and that could maybe...
I wouldn't. I was hoping to disagree with you, Jonathan. But actually, I saw your selection. I probably would have picked exactly the same 11 names, but I agree with you. I don't think Southgate will. It's great fun playing fantasy coach. The real stuff's going to start very soon. Jonathan Fadugba, really appreciate your time on World Sport again. Thank you.